Welcome everyone. We'll start our lesson 4. Today lesson will go through LO4 learning outcome 4. As you know me, my name is Anjum Satar. Please, if you have any question, drop me email anjum@ukversity.co.uk and I'll try my best to get back to you as soon as possible. So we'll start please. Today lesson will go through LO4. We have all the required resources available on our Moodle page. So in this lesson, we'll go through our LO4, which is about understand the area of law affecting business and professional operation. And we'll go through various legislation. Of course, this subject is very important. It's good to know we have a commercial awareness, about different legislation. Those, if you're a member in practice or member, are you working for someone else as well, you should be aware of your right and your responsibility and what legislation we have to follow, and those can be affected. So in our lesson 1, we had a discussion about the contract law. We discussed about there is an offer and acceptance in any contract. That's is a crucial. We discuss about element of contract. We discuss about insolvency laws. We had a discussion about different ethics. Those are the moral principle we have to follow, and those are quite crucial, need to follow. So today lesson is focused on LO4, which is area of law affecting the business and operation. Operations is various operations which can be affected, in term of, because if when you're in member in practice, you have to look around the employment law, you have to look around the data protection, you have to look around the ICO, Information Commission Office legislation, you have to look around the company laws, Company Act 2006. We had a discussion as well, which we have to follow. We discussed about memorandum, article of association. We went through those, legislation, and we have to follow. Please, if you want to look around the different legislation, always good to go on gov.uk. So please, we can look around gov.uk legislation as well. That's quite good to look around. Like, any legislation you want to look around, like I want to look around GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulation. In the past, we used to call DPA, Data Protection Act 1998. This was replaced by General Data Protection legislation, and we can look around the data we deal with various. The data we can't transfer outside EU with the permission, without the permission of ICO, Information Commission Office. If the data breaches happen, can be 10% of the turnover can be fined. Think about, we have a various company being fined, like a Facebook, the data breaches, so we have a responsibility to follow the data protection. That will be in our discussion, which we look, So today lesson, we have 4 assessment criteria analyze the requirement of data protection. We look the intellectual property right, your logo, your contents, which we need to protect, and we can register it as well, because it's your intellectual property rights, that can be million. So we can look around, and if we can put it in the book of account as a asset, which is intangible asset. Intangible asset means the asset you can't see it is the asset. What is meant by asset, we learn in the previous lessons or in accounts. Asset mean anything you own it, which has the economics value, which will flow the future economics benefit, we call is asset. So that's, if we don't fulfill, it can be a liability, legal obligation by have. If we not follow the laws, it's our legal obligation. We have to follow these are legislation, and it can create a liability for the company. So we have to follow. Assess, the importance of intellectual property rights to businesses. So those we need to be look around. So we can look around intellectual indicative contents, which will go through Data Protection Act, which will go through the GDPR, General Data Protection Act. We have a 7 principle. Intellectual property right, this is the protection through the copyrights, patents, and trademarks. We have organization nowadays, digital asset, digital. We can look around these, as a property like cryptocurrencies and various others. We can, and the employment laws, which we can look around as well. Those, if you imply what your right, what is imply right, what is the code of conduct, ACAS or various other code of conduct, we have an express term, we have an implied term, those we need to be followed. Anybody, any question? guys, those are listening this recording today, a couple of you not available due to your own commitment. So please, you can drop me email and I'll get back to you for further explanation. Huh? So any point, if you're not get, please ask, we are here and we can carry on. We'll make sure, you clear and get the concept. But if any issues, please feel free and share with us. Huh? And we can go through the things accordingly. Okay, so during my previous lesson, I already mentioned and shared with you the booklet is called, uh, Law for Accounting, which is F4 exam of ACCA, and I gave you the booklet, of Kaplan, BPP, and various other resources. I already shared with you, and further, if you need, we can share with you as well, please. Huh? We have a Kaplan resource bank. We have, the BPP resource bank. We have Osmo resource bank. We have an Open Tuition resource bank, gov.uk resource bank. Of course, we can look around various other the effective website, where we can find why we really need to be protect the data need to be protect. It help, so data not supposed to be theft, not steal for the sake of your own benefit, the financial. So we need to be look around the data protection. 6 important act of principle: be obtain and possess the data. We can't really get the excessive data. What your how many children you have, where they live, what they eat, what they do, what their future plan. That's excessive data is lawful. Only the data we need to run our business operation effectively. Then we obtain the data fairly, lawfully, and transparently. We process the specific, explicit, and lawful purposes clearly, because we want to run our operation. We need dates, we need accounts, we need certain details of the client. Adequate, relevant, and not excessive data, and accurate and kept up to date. That's which we need to be, and be kept, for longer than is necessary for the specific purposes, and be proceed in the secure manner and taking appropriate, security measures with regard to the right accidental or unauthorized data of access, the personal data, accidental, unauthorized, so that can uh, leads to the fine. So intellectual property right, which we mentioned, like your logo, your brand image, the after number of years you develop the goodwill in the company, it's your asset, because no one really inventions, designs, logos, your product, things you write and make, and produce copyright. These all we need to be look around. Then please, we have this little mind maps, guys. If you want to, you can zoom in and you can further look around. But if you have any questions, so we can look around the employment right, we can look around anti-discrimination laws, leaving employment, you're going to make the people redundant. Sometimes as accountant, we have to deal those, and the tax purposes as well. So employment laws group, together all the laws and the regulations, and address the right of the individual and employed within the organization, which we can look around working time, how many hours supposed to be worked, like, because as accountant, if somebody is working 100 hours per week, look around the health and safety of the individual. We have to sometimes we have to advise to clients, don't look around, allow, your workers to work, extra hours, up to that, because the health and safety of them is also our responsibility. Child care, equality laws, treating people equally, trade union, pension, contract, implied dismissal, if you want to make the people redundant, so we have to look around the redundant rules. So in a lie, the requirement of data protection, the consent of the data subject, processing. Okay, guys, there is a SAR. Couple of you know SAR, which is called subject access request. SAR, which is called subject access request. Subject access request. So please, any data is held by anyone. So those have their data, they have a right to ask, uh, let us know SAR, through SAR, or you need, the data, you need to be other account and transfer the file. So we have to write, officially to other accountant to get all the case, transferred to our firm, and then we can advise, individual accordingly. So processing is necessary for the performance of the contract with the data subject to our the take, step to enter into the contract. Processing is necessary to compliance purposes and the legal obligation, which we can look around the protect the vital interests of the subject and other person. And processing is necessary to perform the task, So if we have a backup office, so please, like, you sending things abroad and somebody doing bookkeepings and all ICO. So we have to get the permissions, even is online and things. So please, that's really we need to be aware of. We can be caught off, so we need to be look around these for these, the rules, and these are the cases that the incidents happen in the accounting field, right up and the freedom and the subject. So what is the personal data? Any information about living individual or which is capable identify the individual. Sensitive data is defined as any information relating to individual, like their uh, race, ethnic belief, religious belief. That's the sensitive data. Really, we need to be under the GDPR is referred to the special characteristic of individual. So what is the data protection? Data protection of avoiding harm of individual misusing, mismanaged. So if you Google search it and you find your name, you can maybe highly likely you can find because you gave your data on the electoral register, you registered on the electoral, and then of course on the electoral register. If you left the open register, then anybody can access and call you the marketing. So that is very crucial, which we need to be aware of, what purposes and what your are is your individual right. You can ask where you obtain my data. Yes, so sometimes the data can be hacked, so we have the secure system, the password and the policy and internal control system in place in our organization that will help you to improve. So process information lawfully and allow the subject in line with the act. What is the GDPR? As we mentioned, GDPR is called General Data Protection Regulations. We can look around. In 2018, is replaced with the old law, which is called DPA 1998. Individual have the access. If you want medical file, you can write to the doctor by paying normally £10 fees, or you want immigration file, you can, or you want, the accounting record from the accountant, all the corresponding with the, that's, or you can write to HMRC, getting all the data, which you can, if maybe you lost, your um, P60s and things and you want to see it, if you can't retrieve, or you can write it. It's your right, under the data. So we have the privacy by design and default. The success of the data include how process and the share the data, not just, what you hold, and you will have a less access, So we can look around, the subject can be request the data deletion, the right forgotten. So we can look around the data processes, will be held, liable. We can look around, you must be able to demonstrate the compliance with the GDPR. While ICO says lease reports, and the potential fines can be 4% of the annual global turnover. Think about, like Unilever, like Procter and Gamble, or Nestle and various Amazon. They turnover in billions, so 4% can be huge loss for the company. So GDPR, lawfully fairness, purpose of limitation of the data, how long we can. Normally the data goes, if you left, the after 10 years, we don't accept, really need for the processing. So data minimization, only collect the data that you need for the purpose of using accuracy, keep up to date, delete all of this. Storage limitation, of course, like accounting record, current year plus 5 years, so we can keep around 6 years. That's, so that's, after that, if somebody asks you or accounting or HMRC, that the rule says we don't need to keep it, so we need to be make sure data protection, termination, data controller is the person who in our organization determine how and what data is processing. The data is subject to the person about the whom personal and it's being processed. The data processor is the person who's in action of the personal data and control. It might be third party, so we can look around the processing, anything done with the personal data include data protection officer, DPO is the responsible specific role and the legal requirements, which we can look around NCI, here and various. So we can look around, can I still process the personal data? Do I need to be consent? Of course, we need to be think about, the consent in the wider interest of the public. Then if the court order, then we can share. Otherwise, we're not supposed to be share. For the performance of the contract, for the compliance of the legal, for protect the wider interest, we need to be to exercise officially. These are key purposes we need to be look around ultimately. Anybody, any question, guys? So this is 4.1 where we can look around data protection, what is meant by, even your discussion can be look around the old data and current data protection and their obligation, why we need it, and what is the purpose. And you can even add your own example as an organization, which is fine. Explain intellectual property right, IP, what is meant by IP. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining. How you keeping? You okay? Hope you can hear me. Huh? Okay, so we can look around, explain how the intellectual property, which is mean, in the law by example of the patents, copyright, you have a logo, you have a brand, you have a goodwill, we can protect it really under the, we can register it as well with IP. Protection of the intellectual property rights, make easier to take the legal action against anyone who steal or copy your ideas, so that's why we need to be registered. So it can be copyrights, writing, or any work, photography, film, music, digitally in the right shapes or the object, which we can protection, apply the trademark, your logos, which we can, and look around, register design, which we can, the shapes or the patents, invention, the product, maybe in accounts, you grind the internal control system in our organization. That's your right, you can protect, our it can be intangible asset in the organization. People can't see it, but it's a worth of in millions. So copyright protect, which is protect your work and the stop, others to using without permission. You don't have to apply the apply or pay fees. There isn't registered of the copyright work in the UK, but we can look around, the various copyright protections when you create, the original literacy or dramas or music, which we can look around the original non-literacy written word, sound or music, these can be, so you can mark as a work with the copyright symbols. Yes, your name, your years of creation, whether you mark the work or not, doesn't affect, any level of protection. So please, how copyrights can be protected, copying your work, distributing the copy of it, the free of charge or sales, rendering or lending copies of work, performing and showing. So copyright overseas, we have a lot of case laws as well in the international court. We have and various other agreement, nobody steal. But actually, unfortunate, this is happening. People copy the ideas from, but we need to look around this being really the original idea or being modified ideas. So you have to protect these, which we can register as a copyrights. The copyright protection start, as soon as the work is created. Once your copy right is expired, anyone can copy your work. The length of the copyright depends. Maybe written dramas or the musical 70 years or after death, that sound or the music 70 years from when. So these are some, the and a lot of discussion or dispute can go into in tribunal or international courts as well. Broadcast the layout, publish, so 25 years when the first publish. The patents are the invention. You can, the patents to protect your invention. It give you right to the legal action against any other body, yes, who steal it. So the guarantee the patent, your invention, or must be like, McDonald's, of course, if someone keep the name of McDonald and then try without the permission of the McDonald, of course, it's the copyrights, So incentive, not the simply modification or something already exists in the patent extension, but difficult to get, what cannot patent, cannot be patent certain types of the invention, like, literacy, dramas and music or the artwork, maybe just, it's a generic, the way of doing business, playing, the game or thinking, the method of medical treatment, diagnostic discoveries, scientific theories, mathematical theories, the way, which may be various authors, but you have to look around, like your dissertation, your research paper. Digital asset is the digital entities owned by like Tomcat or various other examples are include the digital photos, videos, songs, that can be. So protect important digital assets as the intellectual property rights to face to manage your right and access, which we can look around Wi-Fi, best practices, right insurance, which we can get the insurance remedies, unlawful use of intellectual property rights, injunctions or award at the cost of the damage, due to somebody copies without the permission of. So that's why it's very crucial, So civil remedies can be injunction, the damages account, proper deliveries, criminal remedies can be imprisonment, somebody's fee, administrative remedies can be. Some relevant question can be, why should I protect my intellectual property right? Many things, that can be protected under the intellectual property rights, essentially roles to play to the success of the business, strong brand, really we want to be, your brand is easily copied. It mean other can be get the financial benefit instead of you spend the million. It's give you competitive advantage, like carrying on the intellectual property audit, which we carry on looking in our organization online. Nobody, if that's happen, of course, we can go into relevant authorities, and that can be, so important of the intellectual property rights, patent, uh, protection, invention, or that can be protected, like AI, artificial intelligence. You develop the software, you are the winner. Then, of course, future researcher doing making different software that is there, so we can look around the litigate against the third party and the feel unfair using the intellectual property, the trademark protecting the concept and the ideas, the business such as slogan, copyrights, properties like, we can't use those colors are exactly the same logo. Some people can little bit modify, unfortunate like a company being caught, these and design the rights and the restricted designs, which we can dimension object, and those we can register, and then of course, it's a registered property rights, nobody can copy. So important of the intellectual copyright original work, the copyright is automatically in the UK, but not in the US, does not need to be applied for. So given all the original literacy or tech or others, result of the intellectual effort, skill or creative, we can look around. This would be include the website, the content is our website, our copyright, protecting your rights, overseas. That other is sometimes overseas, the company is not, the country is not, it can be huge, long process is sometimes maybe it's not straightforward, but we can still, register and protect to under International Court of Justice as well. IF, which we can look around 4.3, we have intangible assets, goodwill impairments, and all these, we can, because this is your asset, it can be worth huge in millions. So we can assess the importance of the legislation regarding employment. Employment legislation, the right of employer, implies working hours, health and safety act, data protection act, grievances procedure. We have Equality Act 2010, dismissal, whistleblowing, employment tribunal. These all we need to be look around. Like, if somebody is being employed and you want to make it redundant, so 1 week salary based on the year of completion of the service plus times by the age factor. If somebody is more older, then the young workers get more redundant money. Then we can say voluntary or voluntary redundant, because it can be discrimination. So we can look around these laws, employment laws, discrimination laws, leaving. So these are, there are the two types of, it can be implied and self-employed. Of course, implied, we can look around, implied mean you have a control on implied, and we have to provide the holidays, like, Uber taxis. The case went to the court, and the court decided because the app is controlled by drivers and being clustered as an implied, because implied means employer control you, and ultimately the court gave the order, you can be treated as implied instead of self-implied. So we need to look around these, and the self-implied, you manage yourself, your books, your NI, and insurance. That's all we need to be look around. And the contractual agreement. Contract is mean offer and acceptance. So employment rights give the employees the certain rights, such as the right not unfair dismissal, right redundant pays, equal pays, right, not based on race, religion, beliefs, or you've been paid less than, or the sexual pay is less like males and females. We have gender pay gap, a lot of discussion going around these working regulation, can't work an average 48 hours week. It gives the right to be 4 week paid leave in a year and 1 day off, each week. Employment Act 2002, the parent and the children under 17 are disabled children under the 18, the right to be flexible working hours. That's which we need to be look around. National minimum wage under the 1998 National Minimum Wage Act. We have, so please, these are old which we can go back to always, because the national minimum wage is the area which is linked with the finance. So we can say national minimum wage. So please, always good to be under each finance sector. You can look around national minimum wage, carry on changing, and we have to follow that legislation. So we can look around if anybody is above 21, or it's £11.44. If somebody is paying less as a working in accounts and tax, we have to be look around these legislation, and we can give advice to the client. 18 to 28 pounds 60, £6.40 and £6.40 to apprentices. So we need to be look around these legislation closely, and that's we can advise to client. Anybody any question? If you have, please you can ask. Huh? So that's we need to be look around. That was in 2012, and now of course we can look around redundant pays. Of course half a week pay for each full year which we can under 18, 1 week if you're 22 and 41. If you are older, 1.5 week pay of each full years, 14 and all. So we have to look around the length of the service, how many weeks, and the notice, and then of course we can look around the taxes accordingly. So dismissal, is it dismissal by notice or dismissal by, so is it was the workers under temporary or the permanent contract? Grievances procedures are in place. So the statutory pays, patents are pay, parental leaves and all, so with those we need to be look around these according to apprentices. So 30% time off we need to give to the people. Those are an apprentice contract, so we need to be look around those. Short term and the temporary layoff, so more than 4 weeks in a row, more than six consecutive weeks in 13 weeks, right of employer telling them intend to be claim, secretary redundant pay. So we need to be look around secretary £75, £90. So we have to look around in that, in which years of talking we are 7 days receiving the right employer again, giving them notice. So not really instant, dismissal if somebody is stealing goods. So we have a clearly staff handbook, and the rules, should be clearly implement, and that's redundancies up to 19 and 20s and more redundancies at the same time. So we have to look around, how many, why we are making people redundant. Clearly garden leave rules we have to be give them. We have to train them if we can adjust it. Unfair, wrongful, and constructive dismissal. So advisory, consolidate, conciliation, which we can arbitration services, ACAS, which we can look around their code of conduct that can lead to the employment tribunal. Consistently, employer and employee should act, investigation. Employer should carry out and assess the investigation, establish the fact. Employer should inform employee the basis of the problem and give your opportunity to put the case in the response before the decision is made. Which we can look around formal disciplinary and the grievances meeting, appeals again, the decision make. Unfair dismissal can lead to the court, and then of course it can be huge damages can apply. So situation dismissal is like unfair, because us, the flexible working hour, and you're dismissing based on if somebody but not warning being given and state resign and gave the correct notice period and joined the union. If somebody joined the union, the law says that the whistleblowing, somebody saying you're doing unlawful work and you've been given or making them redundant or dismissal due to that. Constructive dismissal is when forced to leave your job again because of the employer conduct, that can be goes to whistleblow. Of course, we have a ATHE, ACCA, or IFA. We have a whistleblowing concept. You can whistleblow within or outside, and you can ethical helpline. You can get the advice on acceptable conduct. So we have to look around equal opportunity. If not being given age, disability, gender, we can't really based on these all. We can't discriminate people. Please, we have a lot of journal article on grievances. So please, if you want to read ICO, then various other government awarding bodies. So it's good to look around if you want. So that's all from our lesson today. We have some additional website on grievances, please, if you want to for further your ACAS slide. If you want to look around, you need in if you want dismissal somebody, what the process, the notice period, a follow work, union rep, and minutes, meeting minutes. So you have to give them time, not really cross misconduct if it happen. Recommended action we need to be take if somebody is unhappy. So these are all because expired uh, term are the families and all dismissal. So these which we can explore more under the EAT legislation, which we can look around. So today lesson we discuss about what is GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR 2018. So please good to look around. Then we discuss about IP, intellectual property rights, and what sort of property, how we can register, and that's we had a discussion on. And then we discuss about employment law. So when we say employment law, we have a Health and Safety Act 1974, because uh, 74 is the employer and employees both have the responsibility. Employees should provide like a safety shoes and all, and safe environment, and everyone have to care about. If they're not beating, it's the employees fault. And then if somebody joining the union, then things. So national minimum wage, we have Equality Act 2010, which is part of. So that's in laws, everyone equal, should be treated equally, not being discriminated on the basis of race, religion, and so we have to look around protectors, characteristics, and all. So we have to look around dismissal, misconduct, ACAS code of conduct as well. That's we look around the flexible working. We can look around the redundancies. So these are all the legislation come under the employment. That's which we can look around, and that was the key in our lesson. So please, if you have any question, you can ask. Like. So that's all from my end. Any question, please? If you like to ask, welcome. So in next lesson, we'll do assignment discussion. So please, before next lesson, if we can look around, assignment brief, which is given on our Moodle page. In the next lesson, we'll go through the assignment brief, how we can structure, where we can find the resources, how we can embed it. So today lesson, I gave you the website if you want to look around the more legislation in detail, because there's a lot of legislation carry on. Like I mentioned, your national minimum wage, GDPR, Health and Safety Act. So please, gov.uk is the best website to explore about, because all legislation updated on the website, which we can follow, and those we can embed. Other we can, if you want to look around, we mentioned F4 of ACCA exam, which I mentioned, open tuition, BPP, Kaplan, and all other resources available on Moodle page as well. So please, good to be, we can do the background reading about the subject, but if any point you not get it, please always ask, so we will go through accordingly. Thanks for attending and have a lovely weekend, and I will speak to you next week then. Those are listening this recording, please join during our next lesson, because next lesson will be very important, as in terms of the assessment is your assignment based assessment, and we'll go through assignment brief and how we can address all the learning outcome within our assignment. Okay, thanks for attending and have a nice time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Lord. Thanks. Bye-bye.